Warm welcome back to Good Morning Kenya, and now we shift matters and talk about tax amnesty, which Finance Act of 2023, and it started last year, the 1st of September, and is running up to the June. So we'll be looking to understand the whole aspect of tax amnesty. And in studio today, I'm joined by Christine Masharia, who is a tax expert.
Fine, thank you.
Yes, siku yako inaendea this morning. How is it going for you?
It's good.
Yes.
I'm grateful, thank you.
So let's get for a person who has had tax amnesty for the first time now. What is it?
Well, tax amnesty ideally is relief that the government is offering to Kenyans on any penalties, fines, interest prior to 2022 on their liabilities. And what we are referring to here is where an individual may have filed a return and said that they need to pay and they could not pay. Now, with a new relief where if they pay their liabilities, they get to be given an amnesty on the ideally, they don't have to pay the whole liability in full. So that is where the tax amnesty comes in.
Yes.
Yes.
And how is this going to run, and how are people responding to it so far?
Yes, we've got a good uptake. We thank God for that. And 1st of September 2023. And it is running up to 30th June 2024.
Yes.
And we are expecting Kenyans to pick it up. We have so far had close to 400,000 taxpayers benefit. So we are hoping that Kenyans will still do what they do best, try and catch up, and expect taxpayers to come file their returns for those who have not filed their returns so that they can benefit from tax amnesty. Probably took a PIN long time ago and thought they're going to do business. They were not able to do any business and did not know that they needed. So if they file their returns today, they're going to be penalized. However, now the good news is will benefit from tax amnesty as long as they're up to 2022 December. They will benefit from tax amnesty. They will be waived off.
What about a person who has a KRA PIN, but has never filed returns?
And that is where we are saying, if you have a PIN, took a PIN, or people who don't know that they actually do have a PIN, especially those who took for help purposes, help loan purposes, students, they took PINs and they didn't know that they needed to file. Come and file your returns. File your returns. Yes, you will be penalized. However, those penalties will be waived. Tax amnesty on them automatically.
Talk about the whole procedure of applying for tax amnesty.
Well, now let me categorize these liabilities into two. There are those who just have penalties, and there are those who actually have a liability to pay, and that is what we are referring to as a principal tax. Is a liability where when you file a return, at the bottom of your return you have a positive figure. That principal tax. You are self-assessed yourself and said, I am going to pay 20,000 shillings. That 20,000 shillings has been outstanding a period either from 2015 or even earlier up to December 2022. When that amount is paid in full before 30th of June, the penalties that will have accrued due to that liability will be waived. Then there are those who just probably filed their returns and filed late, paid their principal tax, however they paid it late, they will benefit from amnesty. Now they have to have accrued prior to December 2022. Those are the only people that will benefit from amnesty. Any liability that is accrued from January 1st, 2023 does not qualify for amnesty.
Now, I asked you about the whole procedure now of applying for this amnesty. Yes, what is the procedure?
So the one who just has penalties and interest they will automatically be vacated from their ledgers.
Yes.
The person who needs to apply for amnesty is principal liability. Now they need to log into their iTax profile. There's a tab called Debt and Enforcement tab. There's a sub-tab called Amnesty Application. It is very simple, and you only obligation and the tax periods and liabilities that you have, you ought to pay for. And once you choose that, you submit and you request for the number of months that you need. It's going to end on 30th June. So ideally you just have 4 now if you choose, because it's April to June, and the liability ought to have been paid within the 3 months. And that is any approval for the amnesty application. It's very simple. Application, and you just adhere to it.
Yes.
Yes.
Before, let's talk about the difference between tax amnesty, waivers.
So the amnesty, as I stated, is a relief that Kenyans will be who just have penalties and interest will get automatic amnesty. Those who have liability in the system, and then it will be, once they pay, it will be vacated. Now a waiver, you needed to have completed paying all outstanding principal for all tax heads, that one income tax, all your tax obligations, then you apply for the waiver of penalties and interest. However, statutory requirements that you needed to have met to be granted a waiver. So you may have applied for guarantee that you'll be granted a waiver. So that is the difference. The amnesty is automatic. You will qualify automatically without any application, especially or for just if you pay off your principal liability. Whereas write-offs were those that were being given outstanding principal, where state agencies, departments that were unable to pay their liabilities off. So those were different, and they were granted at Treasury. Okay.
Yes. I'm going to cut you short, and we want now to cross the University of Nairobi, where there is a launch of university systems at Nairobi University, and the Eliud Owalo, who is going to present event. Let's hear what he has to say. And right about now, let's have a conversation where we are talking about the which was introduced by the Finance Act 3. And one thing I would want to know, amnesty apply to all tax obligations?
Thank you. Tax amnesty apply to all tax obligations. Excise is covered under ECMA, the East African Community Act. Does not cover, is not covered under the, or excise obligation does not qualify. Other than that, the income tax, VAT and the like qualify for amnesty. Yes.
What about who do not agree with KRA on tax debt up to the 31st of December 2022? What happens?
There may be outstanding error in filing, and a taxpayer may have money still not approved with their tax service office and their relationship managers. Amended return has been, or if it is going to be rejected, that they might need to apply for amnesty. And also there could be taxpayers who were assessed and they objected to the assessments and they're included or are in court. They are being requested if settlement or hasten the ADR qualify for amnesty. We taxpayers who even have probably system issues, how far the issue has been finalized so that they may be able to benefit from amnesty. Look at their ledgers, know their tax status, be able to follow up with their tax service offices so they may be. I want to shout out anybody because the amnesty runs up to 30. After that, I don't know whether there will be further amnesty. Not that waivers were, there's no more waiver. So we'd want for people any outstanding liability to know what the correct position.
What happens if a person applies, fails to adhere to the terms and conditions of the same?
When someone applies for amnesty, that means they know that they ought to make a payment, and they know the time for. They're expected to honor that payment plan. It's any other payment plan that you have an outstanding liability for, and you're given, you've requested for it. So we're employing for anybody who actually has a tax amnesty plan, because the time frame is coming to an end, 30th June. Liabilities are there for different, and tax amnesty, we are granting it per period, per obligation. Even if they start making that payment right now and they do not by 30th June, whatever will be outstanding as a and fully payable. Also, any other, and if the plan is not followed to the letter, follow the normal demand for the liability is no more, we will enforce the liability going to be paid. So the payment plan follow to the letter. Yes.
How does taxpayers in obligations of the tax amnesty?
With the tax amnesty, and we are able to give taxpayers their liabilities by offering amnesty, when a taxpayer visits any tax, they are countrywide, we give them through what their liabilities are. We show them what they need to do. Right now, the tax, so they may not have, for example, to have 12 months of the. If they paid it over 12 months, they need to know that they'll for inclusive of the penalties and interest going forward. What we try and do is to guide them to know this is 3 months to pay. How would you want to structure it? Would you want different periods? Because remember that period per obligation. So if you decide to over different periods and at the end of 30th June find you have not, despite having made that payment, you will not. So we guide and let them know what the benefits of amnesty are. Follow up. Your finances, put repayments so that you benefit from amnesty.
Yes.
Yes.
Kenya Revenue Authority balance the aspect of leniency in the administration of now this tax.
When a taxpayer comes and says they do have a liability, and we will guide them on how to make the payment. We will they give us and tell us what they have and how they think they can, or subsequently, especially, and they already oversee qualify for amnesty for the whole. We'll guide them. We will tell them, look at your liability. Let us structure it in a that you have a visual and pick it up per period, so that if your debt is 1 million and you think you can pay up to 600, guide you to know which periods you can be able to that you benefit from the tax amnesty, and then whatever periods that you may not be able to pay off, we will also so that you may be able to visualize, have a liability will be there after June, and that you need to have it in mind. So we do listen, we do plans depending on your capacity and capability. We want people to default. Our main aim is not to force that liability. Our main aim is to get you to within your capacity, with the capability that you have, default on any liabilities coming forward.
Enforcement of tax compliance, and also the prevention non-compliance. Yes, how that?
Right now, knowing from 1st June, there is no waiver, there is no write-off for any liability. We can reach out to taxpayers through calls prior to payment to let them know that they do have an. We ask taxpayers to make sure that they file on time so that they do not accrue liabilities. Liabilities will not qualify for amnesty, and there's no. We do write emails, we do write letters, we do call prior to the due dates to let them know that the due date is approaching, fast approaching, file your return. The due date is coming, kindly make payment. And if make payment late, we do also notify them and let them know. Kindly make payment for it. Yes.
Maybe one would want to understand. Let me say, a person who does not pay or file, say, 2023-2024 financial year, the exact amount.
Well, every different penalty. For monthly obligations, for example, we do have pay as VAT, we have monthly rental income, tax. They all have different, even penalties. Late filing, this late, it comes from either 10,000, 20,000. We do have late payment penalties, and those are payment penalties are a subject that you ought to pay a percentage of the principal liability of 10,000, depending on the tax obligation. Yes.
How does this tax amnesty now enhance or between the taxpayer, the tax authority, and measures are there, or what measures can be implemented? Transparency and fairness in the whole process.
Amnesty, iTax, let me just put it this way, we are and we're trying to move forward with technology. And iTax is a system for the taxpayer. You come, you make your payment, as opposed to the old era where you would capture and then later try and explain to you what we capture. This era, the digital era, iTax, you can see. So right now, even with the amnesty, when you pay your, for example, for a period, say you had a liability for May 20, pay off the principal liability. Once system again, these are some of the triggers that we have put in place. Amnesty automatically, you will be the amnesty for that period, and you will also automatically. So it is very transparent and tell you what you needed to have done. You see it, able to log in and look at your ledger. You're able to log in, see what is still outstanding. If it is a reconciliation, people bring documentation. If it's a payment you say that you have made captured, we request people to bring the capture those payments, because we want everybody to benefit from the system. It is made available to see. So it is not guesswork, and it is not my word. To see and read from the same script.
What are the potential drawbacks of this tax amnesty and effectiveness in the long-term?
Well, there are taxpayers who probably and either are hoping that the amnesty given will be prolonged, and yet we haven't had any guidance on that. If there's a taxpayer who's sitting back and saying maybe Kenyans always extend, there's always going to be an extension, we haven't heard of what the law states. The law has stated that tax amnesty is going to be. So we are hoping that they are not going to sit back and extend, let us have an extension, yet we've heard from. But we have seen a great taxpayers, we have seen great interest from people hoping their objections done the right way, the people who've come forward and done voluntary disclosures so that they can benefit from good uptake on that. And we are not looking, we don't want to look at the, this is a tax break, everybody, they're getting a relief and they're being told, come. And nobody's going to ask you, nobody's asking you, just pay off your liabilities so that you can continue, pick up your pin and continue doing what. Yes.
What is the place of public awareness, increasing knowledge of this concerned?
We do run, we have Instagram, Twitter, and these Tax Thursdays on week. We do have radio shows. We do have still ongoing, and we're going to pick them up. We go downtown. We have tax seminars with in different sectors of the different taxpayers. We also put it out in the even our career website, and even tax service office. They will be given any information that they need. So we have tried our best to put it out there.
Do you have people who, of course, there are people who do not have social media. Media is they do not even have phones, but to do this information concerning tax amnesty, where like barazas, where you people go to things.
Yes, we do, because offices countrywide. So we do with the different communities and see how the different ways of having them been reached. This is one of them. There are people who will watch TV. There are people who will actually do hold those barazas, mini barazas, depending with the community. The type of person. There are places I may not go as a lady.
Yes.
So we do take into consideration a lot of things.
Yes.
But our best, and we are still doing a lot. We still have 3 months to go into the community. Downtown, we go down all around. I know people even as far as Kisumu, to the interior, to just make sure, as long as you have a talk, we actually even do them in different dialects.
Wow.
So that people can understand if they do not understand English or Kiswahili, so that they understand what principal tax is. What is principal? What are we talking about? What is this that the government is saying is offering? So we try and make sure that nobody is left behind.
If a person is for this amnesty and let's say he's dealing with a KRA of issue, how does he establish that they are dealing with a genuine person?
Well, for starters, I think I would hope that the person would introduce themselves. And if they are still doubting, probably have a smartphone or a device that they can always check on the KRA website, at the down corner, somewhere where you can always check whether the officer is a KRA officer. It's called a staff verification. On it, and you just need to know the staff's ID number, and it will give you the staff's information. If they are genuine, it will show.
Yes.
Yes.
What would you say are the lessons that Kenyans will draw from this amnesty so far?
Should pick it up. It's a good thing. You're being given relief. Everybody needs relief from any tax burden that, and they should take it up. And the beauty about it, it's been offered per period, per obligation. Feel you might not be able to complete making those payments, you can always push yourself to make some of the payments, and because there will not be any extension. And also the beauty about this is a lot of people have come forward and they have benefited from the amnesty. They get the tax amnesty certificates automatically. You log in. If you have penalties, if they're not vacated automatically, if you come to our offices, we can also run for you the amnesty from our end, and you benefit. So I think Kenyans should take it up. Kenyans should want to know what their tax status is. That is where it will start. Even the person who may not know tax status, walk into any tax service office and ask, I want to know whether I have a debt, and they will be assisted. We are there to facilitate. We are there to make sure that. Yes.
Now, let's reflect on the broader perspective of, or the context of fiscal policy within. Does this tax amnesty fit within the government's idea or goal of increasing revenue collection and revenue mobilization, public finance management, and also sustainable development?
Okay. See, the law was actually amended to fit in the Finance Act last year. That section did not exist before. It was fixed so that benefit, and that meant that anybody who had a liability would be able to come forward. Remember, the interest that someone would accrue on a liability is pegged on the principal tax outstanding, and some people did have. And therefore, if you see that the interest is going to be vacated, if you get to pay, for example, if you have a debt of 10 million, 10 million for 2018, right now, high. Wow, so you have a drive to get that 10 million paid off because you're going to benefit from amnesty, because your liability would probably be half. Understand? Yes. So there's a drive for you to want to pay off that 10 million. Again, with the amnesty, you can have a voluntary disclosure. You voluntarily disclose a liability for a past period. Payment for it, you will benefit. So the government also benefits in the fact that the tax outstanding that was there before, the people due to hardship and not seeing any bright future, and now they see that they from it, they are actually coming forward and they're paying. So this also gets into the kitty of government, also improves our tax management, and also where public finance is concerned, they are able to, government is prioritize, they're able to budget, knowing that Kenyans are coming to pick up the tax amnesty. There are figures that we have, we see that collected almost close to 17 billion on the tax amnesty. So that's really good. Money that we foreseen, or guys may not have paid voluntarily within that short period of time. And within the 3 months that is upcoming, we are also hoping to more than 50% of the target that we had.
You are seemingly on course to achieve the goal of this tax amnesty?
Yes, we are. That because we've already target.
Wow.
So we are pushing and hoping that Kenyans will still come forward and make payments for the plans that they have. Yes, and
they take advantage of this amnesty. They should still consider complying with tax obligations.
going forward, because from January 2023 there is no waiver, there is no write-off, and they know.
Yes.
So we push, and we keep
yes.
Because sometimes they may not know, sometimes they may still think there's the waiver option, and we let them know, no, there's no waiver. So you see them almost as soon as possible.
Yes.
Because they know there's no relief going forward.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
To have you again and talk more about these things.
Thank you.
We have been talking to Christine Macharia, who is, and this is where we cap matters. Good morning, Kenya. My name is Mike Migui, and on behalf of my colleagues, continue enjoying viewing. Good morning.